After just one season, that comes off a year in which high expectations ended with an underwhelming first-round sweep in the playoffs. According to Woj, former Bucks head coach Mike Budenholzer is the Suns' top target, with discussions expected to move quickly towards a deal. Now, I'm just going to show you this, and it is what it is. Everyone is going to make a big deal out of it. It's presented without any context. Since Kevin Durant left Golden State, whoever they hire to be the next coach, whether it's Coach Bud or anybody else, will be the sixth head coach his teams have had. And in that time, his teams have won a combined total of 2 playoff series. So we had a lengthy conversation and got deeply into this earlier this morning. Let me start it again here, Zach, by just simply asking you this. Should this stuff stick to Kevin Durant? Some will say it's totally unfair that we keep laying all of the things that happen on his teams, everything that happened in Brooklyn, everything that happened here. Is it unfair to lay this stuff at the feet of Kevin Durant?
It sticks to him, but it also sticks to other people. It sticks to Matt Ishbia, it sticks to Devin Booker, it sticks to Bradley Beal, it sticks to the whole team. It sticks to Frank Vogel. The whole team failed, and it failed because of everybody involved. But that is an interesting series of events, and I said this earlier, but I just feel like Kevin Durant has been kind of a wayward soul searching for the right place to be ever since he left Oklahoma City. And the Golden State thing worked out, and it didn't satisfy him. You know why I know it didn't satisfy him? Because he left.
Right.
And since then, it's been Brooklyn fail, Phoenix fail. And look, he did say, I want out of Brooklyn, after saying I want Sean Marks and Steve Nash fired, by the way. And he said, I want to go to Phoenix. What that meant was upheaval in Phoenix. It meant Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, all the draft picks, all the swaps, all the ability to keep building your team around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And at that point, Chris Paul. And the team just wasn't good enough this year. They won no playoff games. Like they're not close to being good enough to justify what they invested. And we can make this about Kevin Durant if you want, and it is a little bit about him, but it's about a lot of different things that went wrong for the Phoenix Suns. And next year, they can't afford to have things go wrong. If we're having the same discussion next year, it sticks to Durant and it sticks to everybody in a really ugly way.
That's fair, and that's right. But I want to go back to the initial question, because there's only one person in this conversation who is an historic great, who is an immortal. He's going to go down as one of the greatest in the history of the sport. Frank Vogel isn't. Matt Ishbia isn't. Bradley Beal isn't. Devin Booker, we'll see. He's got a lot of time left in his career. But Kevin Durant is. He's that good. Mm-hmm. So how much of this, I'll just ask the same question again, how much of it should stick to him?
You know, it's fascinating about this, Grinny. It's, the same reason why people sometimes try to destroy LeBron, because he takes on such a GM role and tries to help out with pieces and working with teammates, players, and things of the sort. Kevin Durant feels like more of an old school player where he's looking for the right GM to lead him. He's really not as involved in a lot of those decisions. And I think that's been more of a detriment to society and the way they viewed him. To me, I view Kevin Durant as the ultimate mercenary. He's not going to be the guy to orchestrate a roster. He might have a say here or there, but he needs like a bona fide great leader around him to help orchestrate the situation.
Well, hold on a second. I have to stop you there. He chose to go with Kyrie. They chose to bring in James Harden. They chose their coach. He chose Phoenix. And I can't imagine there's any way they traded for Bradley Beal without him at least saying, yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. So I think he's had at least some say in all of these decisions. It would be crazy for him not to. He's too good not to consult.
That's why I said he needs a great leader around him to say, hey, these aren't the right decisions.
I got you.
And that's where you had guys like Jerry Krause. For as much as people love Michael Jordan, you had a guy who was like, no, this is how we're going to build a roster. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
He needs somebody like that. That's also a gift, I think, for LeBron James, that people overlook his ability to make those right decisions that have led to championships.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Go ahead, Chiney. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting because when we think about Kevin Durant, he's the poster child for what the most skilled person at 7 feet that we've ever seen in the game, right? But he's also the poster child of transition because he came from the era where the greatest players had to be the best player, the most demonstrative, the most leadership type of quality guys. Like LeBron James is expected to dictate. Steph Curry was expected to dictate in the ways that his game did it for him. I think we put those same expectations on Kevin Durant, whereas I think now we can recognize some guys are just different. The same way we talk about Jason Tatum, we expect him to lead. That's not the nature in which teams are constructed. And so I think KD was the poster child of being that different mold. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to LeBron, when we come to Steph, and we hear all these killers, like we have this expectation because you occupy this space based off your talent. You have to be that guy. He is not that guy, and he has suffered from that perception.
The whole thing, I can't even speak on the Kevin Durant part because I think so many different pieces play a role in what this Phoenix Suns team looked like. Like, I don't care what coach you bring in, the starting five has issues up and down the lineup. Like, Bradley Beal's health is an issue. Your depth in the post is an issue. Like, there's issues with the way this team is constructed. So it might not matter who you bring in to coach this team. They might not have levels of success. I certainly don't think this lineup is going to compete for a finals.
That's what I was going to ask.
They need lineup changes.
That's what I was going to go around and ask everybody. Like, what are we really talking about here? Let's ask the question. Why did the Suns win 49 games and no playoff games? Like, why do we think that happened?
Maybe because one answer could be because they just ran into the best team, who is now smoking Denver at the same time. A lot of people I've heard suggest maybe Phoenix looks a little better after what we're seeing Minnesota do to Denver.
It's how they lost. The fact that their big three was minus 51, the worst of any trio in the postseason.
Denver's losing the same way right now.
Well, what makes you think a new coach is going to come in and just have all of the right answers and be able to connect to these teams? Like, the grass is not always green on the other side.
Very quick final thought.
It's a Band-Aid when they need surgery. And the fact is they can only afford Band-Aids, so this is going to be a problem that persists.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear, pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA over here,